Leadership. One of the key intangible assets that separates the great from the mere very good. What makes a Formula One driver a team leader? On-track performance relative to your teammates is one aspect, given that you are, by definition, the leading driver more often than not. But what about courage, charisma, work ethic, energy? Someone who motivates their peers through constructive criticism while simultaneously being easy to work with. An individual whose tenacity pushes a team forward through subtle comments to improve a car's inherent weaknesses. Lando Norris has been tipped to become a future world champion. Talent-wise, he already has a very solid foundation which he can build upon to strengthen his skill sets. But becoming a world champion requires more than just raw talent. As I mentioned earlier, leadership is an extremely important quality that differentiates one racing driver from another. With this being his third year with McLaren and the team rapidly on the rise ahead of the 2022 regulations, is Lando Norris ready to become McLaren's team leader? Now, to be considered the lead driver within a team, you first must get the better of your teammates. For the last 2 seasons, Lando has driven alongside Carlos Sainz, and going into this season, he will be partnered by Daniel Ricciardo. Despite being a newcomer to the sport, Lando had a decent first year against his more experienced teammates. One-lap pace proved to be the Brit's strong suit, as there was very little between himself and Carlos. If we only consider races where either driver did not set a time or didn't bother setting a fast lap due to a power unit change, both Lando and Carlos outqualified each other on 9 occasions, with the average gap being 0.06 of a second in the Spaniard's favour. Although he was relatively underwhelming on a Sunday, he was right there with Carlos in terms of average race pace. His core weakness, however, was his starts. In the first half of the season, his conservative approach was more by design, as he usually lost places on the opening lap of a race. This would in turn compromise his strategy and lead to a lot of missed opportunities. He initially had a lot of doubts and put himself under unnecessary pressure. However, the more races he completed, the more his confidence grew. In the first 11 races of the season, Lando had 4-point scoring finishes compared to 7 in the last 10. In terms of percentages, this means that in the first half of 2019, he had a points finish conversion rate of 36% compared to 70% in the second half. Well, it would have been 80% had it not been for,
It's broken!
The points difference between himself and Carlos at the end of the season was sizable, to say the least. It mainly came as a result of his lack of consistency, which I guess can be excused, given he was a 19-year-old rookie. Overall, it was a solid year, but there was also a lot of room for improvement. Over the winter break, Lando worked on better understanding the risk-reward factor of racing. Knowing when to attack and seize your opportunity is a fundamental skill to get right, given how you can go from hero to zero in the blink of an eye. This aspect of his craft was evidently strong in the opening 2 races, where he secured his first podium and went from P8 to P5 in the last 2 laps at the Red Bull Ring. His move on Sergio Perez in the first race came on lap 69, and it proved to be crucial in helping him snatch P3 after Hamilton's penalty. This was somewhat payback for what happened in the last race of 2019, where the Mexican caught him napping on the last lap of the race to secure P7. His superb run of form continued all the way through to Mugello, where at that point, he sat P4 in the championship with 24 more points than his teammates. While Carlos did have some bad luck, especially at the start of the season, Norris's consistency up to that point was nothing short of superb. He evolved his conservative approach into more of a controlled aggression, which served him very well. However, unfortunately, he experienced a bit of a bad spell from Russia through to Portimao and could only manage 2 P8s in the following races. In that space of time, Sainz scored 34 points compared to Norris's 8. This resulted in a 26-point swing to give Carlos a 1-point lead heading into Bahrain. Lando's performance in Bahrain and Abu Dhabi was more typical of the form he displayed at the start of the season. However, he missed out on beating Carlos by just 8 points. While taking a huge leap in his racecraft in 2020, he also made steps forward on his qualifying performances. Overall, disregarding races where either driver had mechanical issues, Norris beat Sainz 8-7 with an average gap of 0.02 of a second in his favour. Now before we go any further guys, if you're new to this channel or you've watched a couple of my videos and haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do so now to keep up with the latest content ahead of the start of the season, which is just around the corner. But without wasting any more time, let's get back into it. Going into year number 3, he faces some tough competition from driver number 3. Daniel Ricciardo is a proven race winner who has experience, speed, consistency, and a very big smile. But behind that smile is a steely character that portrays his racing mentality very well. He isn't called the Honey Badger for no reason. When he's in the cockpits and the visor comes down, he is one of the fiercest competitors on the grid. Lando will have his work cut out to get on top of the Australian. However, there might be a way for him to find success, and his opportunity lies at the start of the season. Having revisited 2019 and 2020, there is a common trend in Lando's performance. It seems as if he excels at the beginning, but isn't consistent enough to maintain that form throughout the year. Given that Ricciardo might take some time to get fully up to speed, Norris can use his knowledge of the car to establish an early lead, which will only give him more confidence against his teammates. Skill-wise, Ricciardo is just on another level. Therefore, I expect that he will be exceptional once he finds his rhythm. But I won't bet against Norris putting up a strong fight and pushing his teammates all the way. His recent comments about Ricciardo not being a big step above anything Carlos has achieved were, to put it bluntly, delusional. But my takeaway from that statement is that he isn't flustered by his teammates' previous successes. While factually he is incorrect, in his mind, Daniel is just another racing driver, and I like this approach. Mentally, he is going to be in for a hell of a ride, given that Daniel's ability has the potential to destroy a driver's confidence. If he wants to establish himself as team leader, he will need to become more ruthless on track and prove he is mentally strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Ricciardo. So back to the question at hand, is Lando Norris ready to become McLaren's team leader? Well, with Daniel in the team, it will certainly be very difficult, given his experience and hunger to make this project work. However, as the years go on and as he gets better, he will also have a lot of experience under his belt and will have refined his craft to a better quality. As seen with guys like Verstappen and Hamilton, talent is just the basis off of which you build a formidable skill set that separates you from all the rest. Lando's character is another indicator of him possessing all the qualities of a team leader. Around his Formula 1 debut was a lot of hype, not just from his phenomenal junior career, but also his social media influence. He appealed to a lot of fans and celebrities outside the Formula 1 bubble, and even some of his fellow racing drivers. After winning the Formula 3 championship, Lando first brought out that champagne celebration we all know and love. By his own admission, his former rival James Poole was the originator. However, repeating it at the Austrian Grand Prix last year brought the iconic celebration to a global audience that has since been copied by other racing drivers to varying degrees of success.
Oh, he tried it.
Whatever you think about his personality or character, the dude has an influence, and a positive one at that. As for his technical ability, I think he's underappreciated mainly because of his jokey persona off track. Listening to his discussion with Tom Clarkson, Lando spoke in detail on how to better his understanding of the car and how to optimize the setup every single weekend.
In terms of setup wise and everything, the differences from a bumpy track to a smooth track and how the car operates. There's always a little window for how the car perfectly operates, and you always want to try and get it in that window for different tracks. And sometimes you can't, and you have to adjust your driving style to suit that. So the understanding for how the car needs to be driven and set up and so on, and my ideas and knowledge for the setup and what, I can now say, I think we should try this, because I remember when we did that last year, that was a good step forward. So I have some memories and things I can look back on and say, we have to do this, or this worked last time, and so on.
2021 will be a defining season for Lando Norris. he has the opportunity to prove himself against one of the best drivers on the grid and build his reputation as a force to be reckoned with. While he may not immediately be a better leader than Ricciardo, he will continue to grow into that role in the near future. How do you think Lando will fare against his new teammates? Do you think he's ready to become McLaren's team leader? Be sure to leave all your thoughts down in the comment section below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you're new to enjoy my latest videos in the future. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.